Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're talking about myths and or exaggerations about travel to Japan. So we're basically going to go through a little list and talk about them.
We're going to kind of go over our top 7 things that we expected or had heard about Japan when going in and found to be completely untrue or a huge exaggeration.
Yeah, exaggeration.
A lot of these things are kind of true to an extent, but not as much as they're portrayed or made out to be.
Right, exactly. In all of our research before going, we were expecting these things to be, in our minds that were actually not as much so as people made them out to be.
Exactly. All right, so number 1 on the list is no toilet paper. I had heard from several people before going to Japan that you need to carry around your own toilet paper because none of the bathrooms have toilet paper or paper towels for you to wipe your hands on.
Yeah, paper towels is understandable. A lot of the bathrooms did have them, but many of them didn't have them. They had the air blowers.
Yeah, so even though the majority of them actually did not have paper towels to dry your hands, they did have the air machines.
Yeah, they all had toilet paper.
Almost every bathroom had toilet paper except for one.
There was one inside a temple, which 5 feet away, there was another bathroom which had toilet paper.
Well, and it was kind of like the same as in the U.S. when you're like out at a park and you go to the bathroom at the park. A lot of times they don't have toilet paper.
Or they'll be out of toilet paper.
Or they'll be out, or you have to buy the toilet paper. It's the same as in the U.S. It's no different. So almost every single bathroom had toilet paper and some way to dry your hands. So that was a complete and false myth, at least where we were. We were in Tokyo and Kyoto mainly.
And most everybody wears a shirt and or pants, so just dry your hands on those.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Soap was one of them. Like many Japanese bathrooms don't have soap. I found that also to be untrue.
Yeah.
Because they all had like the foamy soap dispensers.
Yeah, actually that a lot of them did say they don't have soap, but they did.
So.
In fact, especially if you go to like the bath area in like an onsen or in your hotel, they have lots of soap. They have several different types of soap. Soap for your face, soap for your hands, soap for your hair. So
Yeah, the hotels that we stayed in had a lot of things. They always came with the toothbrush and a little toothpaste and all kinds of little things, toiletries.
And we even stayed in a hostel and they had all the toiletries. And we stayed in a capsule hotel and they provided all the toiletries.
So they were
and
very
soap.
accommodating.
Yeah. So yeah, even if you do a capsule hotel, they had toiletries and soap.
So I guess all of that falls under number 1.
Yeah. Okay, number 2 is the transportation. It's always portrayed in animes and movies that take place in Japan and just in general that their transportation is really organized, always on time, very dependable. And I think this is partially true, but...
Well, I think it's mostly true. Unless there's like an accident or something, which we ran into.
Well, there were several times. Every single time we went to the train station, you saw on the board that there were some trains that were delayed. And when they're delayed, they were delayed by like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We were on one train that broke down and we had to get off. We had several incidents of buses being late to the stop, which again is normal for like in the US. It's not a big deal, but I just thought that it would be more dependable and perfect because that's always how it's portrayed.
Yeah, everybody's like ranting and raving about how perfect it is, but they didn't mention that there could be times when there's like an accident that happens or the bad weather knocks out the tracks or something like that. So that stuff happens like it does in the US, just in Japan, it's pretty dependable for the most part unless something happens to make it not dependable.
Well, I felt like it was frustrating though because there was one particular line, the Shinkansen, and it goes to all the major stops in Japan, like all the big stations it goes to, and it's the bullet trains, it's the fast line. And if one tiny part of their system was down, it affected all of their trains. So like it could be one small accident happened with one of their
Like a
trains.
wild boar.
Yeah, so like one day one of the trains hit a wild boar and like all the trains were delayed by like an hour and a half or 2 hours. Another day there were really heavy rains and we actually had to cancel a part of our trip because our train was completely canceled for the entire time of our trip to get to where we needed to go. So we were stranded. So that was...
So basically the trains can't, if the storms are heavy enough, which they were in this particular time with the Japan floods and everything like that, which was really bad, the trains aren't dependable in that regard.
Well, it wasn't just the rain. It was also like anytime it hit something on the tracks, like the wild boar, they were all delayed or canceled. Another one broke down, and then the heavy rains made us cancel a whole portion of our trip. So I really felt like they were not dependable, and I was constantly concerned about whether or not we were going to be able to get to our destination because there were so many cancellations and delays of the trains. Myth number 3, and this one is, again, it's true to an extent, but I was still felt like it wasn't as true as it's made out to be. That Japan is extremely and immaculately clean. And like you'll be shocked when you get there as to how clean everything is.
Well, it's like slightly cleaner.
It's cleaner than the US, but I mean, we definitely saw garbage strewn about on the streets.
Yeah, like piles of it sometimes.
Yeah, like just...
Especially cigarette butts everywhere.
Well, yeah, and like bottles, everywhere. We definitely saw garbage. And another myth is that Japan is extremely good about recycling. That's not true. The reason why they don't have any garbage cans anywhere is because they have problems with garbage in the past. And so they do have a extreme recycling, or I shouldn't say recycling. They have an extreme sorting system for their garbage, but they don't recycle it. They don't recycle their paper. They just burn it. So they're actually not good at recycling. They just...
Well, they have a trash bin, and then next to that they have for bottles, and then they don't have one for like paper or like what do you call that? Compost?
Yeah.
Compostable stuff. Like I feel like in the US we're a little bit better at the recycling kind of things because we'll have like a bin for everything.
Well,
a lot of times at least.
Well, in Japan, they have like people who actually go and sort the garbage after you throw it away, and they sort it into like 20 different categories. And so that makes people think that they're super good at recycling, but they're not. They don't actually recycle hardly any of it. They just burn it or dispose of it somehow. So, and I mean, yeah, they did keep it clean. Like you could see people every single morning who like go out and are just cleaning the streets and like picking up all the garbage. So they have like workers who take care of that. But
yeah, and they have garbage men that'll just like put everything in garbage bags, and then they'll lay the garbage bags on the sidewalk.
But I think that it was just the impression was that in general, Japanese people don't litter, which is not 100% true. Everyone, I mean, they have a certain percentage of people that do litter in Japan. And so it wasn't as clean as it's portrayed to be.
I guess we should probably mention that we stayed in mostly tourist-ish areas.
Yeah.
Aside from maybe Tokyo, we're in Tokyo, and then a couple of more touristy kind of areas. So
yeah,
that might be a factor in this as well.
Well, and that's the thing is like it is pretty clean considering it's like Tokyo is one of the biggest cities in the world. I mean, if you take that into consideration, it's pretty impressive how clean it is, but it's not immaculately clean like everybody says.
Yeah, again, a huge exaggeration.
Yeah. Okay. The next myth number 4, is the vending machine myth.
So, yeah, while there are, I would say, more vending machines around than like here in the US, I'd say it's still exaggerated, especially with the variety of the vending machines. Like you will see more vending machines than in the US, definitely, but they're all like a drink machine, and they all have the same drinks.
Yeah.
And like I didn't see any hot food vending machines. I saw drink vending machines and then ice cream vending machine. That's the only two vending type of vending machine that I saw.
Yeah, and everybody says that the vending machines are everywhere, and they have everything you can possibly imagine in a vending machine. You can get deodorant, you can get tweezers, you can just get random things out of vending machines. I did not see any vending machines that had anything in them other than drinks or ice cream.
Yeah, maybe those like other more unique vending machines are like super rare and somebody saw them in some back alley somewhere and they're like, "Oh, they have these vending machines everywhere." And just
Yeah.
assumed that those types of vending machines were everywhere. I don't know. But the drink vending machines are pretty much everywhere. I think it's a little exaggerated as to how many there are, but there are a lot.
Yeah, but just the different types of vending machines. And I didn't think people made it sound like they were literally everywhere on every street. And that also, there wasn't as many as I thought there would be. And there was no hot food vending machines, which everyone shows like, oh, you can just order lunch through a vending machine. Like, we never ran across that.
I wonder if that's like a summer thing. Like
Yeah.
they break out their hot food vending machines during winter or like the colder months because we were there in the summer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is a factor or anything, but
Well, and
maybe
as
it is.
far as like random weird items, they have gachapon, but I don't necessarily consider that the same as a vending machine. So maybe people, when they say they have a million vending machines everywhere, they could be also lumping in gachapon with that.
Gachapon was everywhere.
Gachapon is like, they are kind of like little vending machines, I guess, or little
Coin machines.
Little coin machines
Put
where
a
you
coin
can
in
get-
and you got a ball with a little figure or something in it.
yeah, like a little, figurine. So that if people were considering those as like vending machines, then yeah, I guess you could say they're everywhere. But all right, myth number 5 is the high quality food.
Yeah, so the food is good. I mean, when we were doing our research, everybody was like, this is like the best quality food you'll ever have. Ever. It's always fresh and it's always delicious. And I guess if you're talking about food from a convenience store in the US compared to Japan, yeah, Japan's 7-Eleven food is awesome.
The 7-Eleven food is really fresh and really delicious.
Yeah, but when you're thinking about a restaurant, it's like restaurant quality food. It's
Yeah.
not any really better, I don't think, than like restaurant food in the United States. I guess it might depend on which restaurant you go to, but for the most part, I found it to be on par with the United States restaurant food.
Yeah. Okay. Myth number 6. That it's extremely orderly. Whenever you watch, especially in Japanese anime, they always show like them getting on the subway or the train and they're standing in like perfect lines and they walk on to where it's perfectly full and then they're in these like parallel lines on the train and then the doors close and the next train comes and then they go in again in parallel lines and they're perfectly orderly.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, there are lines, but then around the lines, there's a giant group of people just standing there and then pretty much disregarding the line. So, I mean, yeah, you wait till the people get off the train and then you get on the train. So it's orderly in that respect, I guess. And there are lines for the most part, but a lot of times, especially in the busier stations, you'll just have people just shoving their way in.
We were not expecting when we got on the train, we got pushed, like we were crammed like sardines in the train and people were pushing and shoving and pushing their way on.
Majorly shoving, like just trying to cram themselves into the train.
Yeah, and you were literally squished in there. It felt like very claustrophobic.
So that was rush hour in Tokyo.
Yeah, but there was definitely people who pushed their way on the train. They all kind of converge on the train at once. They don't walk in an orderly fashion at all.
Yeah.
Of course, that was rush hour. But still, like, we were not expecting the, like, hectic crowd on the train.
Well, I was hoping we wouldn't have to deal with that, but we kind of went at a bad time. And every time we went on to a train station, there was people running left and right to try to catch their train. I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of funny. But that was just kind of a side note. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly orderly, but again, it's an exaggeration how people just kind of say, oh, it's just so orderly, you won't even believe it.
Yeah, or just like how it's portrayed in the movies as everyone's in a perfect line and they walk on and then they fill it up perfectly, and it's not like that at all. I will say on a side note though that one thing that I felt like was true that's portrayed in movies and anime is businessmen all wearing the exact same suit.
Yeah.
I felt like all the businessmen everywhere you go literally are all wearing the exact same thing.
White shirt, black pants, black tie.
White, yep, and they look all exactly the same. There was a few who had like white shirts with like light blue pinstripe on it, but that was the only variation. I didn't see any other variation in business suits.
Very slight variations, if any.
Yeah. So that was interesting that they all wear the same business suit. Probably because it's so hot. All right, final myth that we noticed was the myth of having to take your shoes off everywhere you go.
Yeah, we had to take our shoes off maybe in some of the temples or shrines that we went into. None of the restaurants.
Yeah. Not really in your hotel. We didn't have to take our shoes off.
Yeah,
in our
yeah.
hotel.
None of the hotels we had to take our shoes off. Maybe in the baths.
When you went to the bath, yeah.
Take your shoes off in the baths before you go into the bath. But like restaurants, shopping places, like public places, none of the public places we went to, we had to take our shoes off. Except maybe the Owl Cafe, but I don't know if you would count that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there were
We went into the Owl Cafe with our shoes on.
Yeah.
But going in, yeah.
It's just, you're made to think that you're going to have to be taking your shoes off all the time. You take your shoes off maybe once or twice during the day when you do a temple or a shrine.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing, of course.
But yeah, but just in general, you don't have to take your shoes off all the time.
Yeah, they have slippers for when you're indoors and then slippers for the bathroom, depending on where you are. There's a couple places we were in where they had slippers for the bathroom specifically. But it's not like you had to use the slippers. You could just wear socks or barefoot or whatever.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was our top 7 myths busted.
Yeah, so hopefully it was informative. And like we said, they're more exaggerations that we heard doing research before going to Japan. But
yeah, I mean, all of these myths, quote unquote, have some truth to them. They're just
hugely exaggerated.
It felt very much like the U.S. in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Not much different. Maybe a little bit cleaner, a little bit more orderly with transportation, but not really that much, not noticeably.
Yeah, not like to a huge extent.
Yeah. So, thanks for listening.
Yeah, so hopefully it was informative. As always, thanks for watching and take it easy.